The alpha female led her pack through the canyon, her keen amber eyes scanning for prey. Behind her, the rushing river carved its ancient path toward the thundering waterfall ahead. Without warning, the smallest pup slipped from the wet rocks and was swept downstream. The alpha's powerful legs carried her along the riverbank, her heart pounding like tribal drums as she watched her youngest disappear. The pup's tiny claws found purchase on a narrow ledge, just meters from the waterfall's edge, trembling as mist soaked his dark fur. The alpha mother stood frozen at the water's edge, her body rigid with terror. She circled frantically, whimpering, a sound that seemed to echo off the canyon walls, like a prayer no one could answer. The ledge was impossibly narrow, the water too violent to cross. Her desperate calls seemed to mock her own powerlessness. Have you ever watched someone you love in mortal danger, knowing there's nothing you can do? Hit like if this story grips your heart. But nature has taught her that when logic fails, instinct must lead. What she did next would defy every survival rule she'd ever learned. She had tried everything, barking commands, testing the water's edge, even attempting to leap the impossible gap. The river mocked her efforts with its relentless roar. Then her golden eyes locked onto something that made no evolutionary sense. A human figure moving through the canyon below. Could she trust the very species that had taken so much from her kind? This wasn't mere survival instinct anymore. This was love transcending millions of years of programmed fear. With deliberate steps, she approached the edge where the human would pass, positioning herself in clear view. Her deep, resonant howl cut through the waterfall's thunder, no longer a sound of desperation, but a calculated plea. Jake Patterson, a veteran wildlife guide with 20 years in the African wilderness, heard the call and instinctively reached for his rifle. But something in the tone made him pause. This wasn't the threatening bark of a territorial predator. This was different. The alpha lowered her head, her amber eyes meeting his directly. She took 3 deliberate steps toward the waterfall, then back to him, whimpering softly. Jake felt the hair on his arms rise as he understood this apex predator was asking for help. What Jake witnessed next challenged everything he knew about wild animals. The alpha actually beckoned with her muzzle, her entire body language screaming urgency. She was choosing to trust her ancient enemy because love demanded it. Share this video if you believe in the power of connection that transcends all boundaries, because what happened next proved that trust is the most courageous act in nature. Jake followed the alpha to the waterfall's edge, his climbing gear already calculating possibilities.
The upper traverse should clear.
The pup was barely visible through the mist, clinging to a ledge 30 feet down the sheer rock face. One wrong move, and the little one would plummet into the churning pool below. The alpha watched as Jake secured his ropes, her intelligent eyes tracking every movement. She understood machinery, tools, human capability in ways that defied scientific explanation. When Jake tested his anchor points, she actually moved to give him better access to the cliff edge. "Easy, girl," Jake murmured, checking his harness one final time. "I see him." The alpha's response was a low, almost conversational whine. Acknowledgement, gratitude, and desperate hope rolled into one sound. Jake rappelled down the cliff face, fighting against the waterfall's mist that made every handhold treacherous. The pup looked up at him with enormous dark eyes, too exhausted to be afraid. Below them, the water waited like a hungry mouth. The alpha remained at the cliff's edge, her silhouette a statue of maternal vigilance against the sky. Every few seconds, she released a soft bark, not commands to the pup, but encouragement to Jake. She had become his spotter, his guide, his partner in this impossible rescue. The ledge crumbled under Jake's boots as he reached for the trembling pup. Rock fragments tumbled into the abyss below, each one a reminder of how precarious this rescue had become. The waterfall's spray made his hands slippery, his vision blurred. Above them, the Alpha's barks grew more urgent, more frequent. She could see what Jake couldn't. The ledge beneath the pup was fracturing, stress cracks spreading like spider webs across the stone. "Come on, little guy," Jake whispered, extending one gloved hand. The pup looked up at him, then at his mother far above, as if seeking permission. The Alpha's gentle whine seemed to say, "Trust him." In that moment, the ledge gave way entirely. Jake lunged forward, catching the falling pup against his chest, just as tons of rock crashed into the pool below. They swung wildly on the rope, Jake's heart hammering as he secured the tiny body against his jacket. The climb back up felt eternal. Jake's muscles screamed as he hauled himself and his precious cargo up the cliff face, one agonizing foot at a time. The Alpha never left her position at the edge, her eyes locked on the approaching pair with laser focus. When Jake finally crested the cliff, the Alpha held back for exactly 3 heartbeats, just long enough to assess that her pup was truly safe. Then instinct exploded into action. She rushed forward, not to Jake, but straight to her baby. The pup, still shaking from shock, buried himself in her warm fur as she licked his face with frantic relief. Her tail actually wagged, as she checked him over with the thoroughness of any anxious mother. But what happened next stunned Jake completely. After ensuring her pup was unharmed, the Alpha turned to him. She approached slowly, deliberately, and did something no wild dog had ever done to him in 2 decades in the bush. She gently pressed her muzzle against his hand. It lasted only seconds, but Jake felt the weight of her gratitude, her acknowledgement that he had risked his life for her child. When she pulled back, her amber eyes held his for a long moment before she collected her pup and disappeared into the canyon, leaving Jake with a story he'd never quite believe himself. In that moment between species, Jake understood something profound. Maternal love recognizes no boundaries, and trust is earned in the space between heartbeats. Sometimes the greatest leaps of faith come from those who have every reason not to trust. Like this video if this story moved you, and check out our other incredible tales of unlikely alliances in the wild, because nature's greatest stories are about connection, not conquest.